Hi!
We are the
Dyslexia Duo.
Each week, we sit down with amazing people, including top researchers and experts in dyslexia, powerful advocates, affected individuals, and more.
Together, we break down the myths, share real stories, highlight research and strategies to advise our listeners about this prevalent learning disability. Come join us!
So this is Amy.
And Melissa.
And we're the
Dyslexia Duo.
Okay, so today we have with us a very special guest. So we have Dr. Terrie Noland. So do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. Yes, I am Terrie Noland and have been in this education space for going on over 30 years now and have spent quite a lot of time working at a national nonprofit. Many listeners probably know what it is, Learning Ally, a national nonprofit. I actually left that formal role in January of this year because I was growing to a point of seeing a need in the space to really tap into leadership development. So still doing some work with Learning Ally, doing some advising there, but now on this path and journey towards leadership development, because we've got to lead literacy well if we are going to impact the lives of children.
I love that. And I was just wondering, we spoke a little bit before the show started, and I said, I'm not a leader type of personality, but how would you develop a leader of somebody who maybe is like me, who doesn't feel like they are a leader?
Yeah. So first and foremost, leadership, sometimes we relegate it to a position or a title. And first and foremost, it's not a position or a title. Having a position or a title doesn't make you a leader. It makes you have a position. We know many people in our lives that have these positions and they are not leaders, because leadership is about who we are as individuals, how we show up as individuals. Everyone is a leader. Classroom teachers are leaders. Parents are leaders. Children can be leaders. It is about the characteristics and qualities that you have inside of you, that you understand how to inspire others, communicate with others, be a vision caster for others, be able to grow yourself and your personal knowledge to a point that you can build systems in which other people are supported, other people are, I'm going to use this word, and I don't like this word because maybe I can tell you why, empowered. Okay? I love the word empowered, but I think we throw it around to the point of, well, we just need to empower our teachers. What does that mean? What does it mean to empower teachers? So in the work that myself and my colleague, we do around leadership, we truly dig into the how of empowering others. And it starts with personal leadership. I gotta model for others what I expect to see in them. So like everyone is a leader, and we've got to see ourselves as leaders.
I love that.
That's and what you said really kind of resonated with me. Just because you have a leadership title doesn't mean that you're a leader. And I do feel like that term empowered is thrown around a lot without really understanding what it is to empower our educators, empower our teachers. I'm on board. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in the middle of that.
That's okay. See, you agree with me. That word is thrown around, but what do we mean? A teacher might mean leave me alone and let me do my own things in my own classroom. And, somebody else may have a different interpretation of the word empower. So it's a true leader in a school building that is advancing literacy to the point that we are catching children at risk of reading failure, that we are designing systems that talk to one another. Our assessment system talks to our instructional system. Our instructional system talks to our curricular tools and system. And a leader has to know and have that vision to be able to do that. And empowering teachers in the process is that I am modeling for you what I expect. I am out there walking alongside you, doing what we expect. And I don't leave everybody to their own devices because that leaves children at risk.
Exactly.
So tell me this, what led you to this work that you're doing now? I mean, you're so passionate, obviously, about what you do. And I love to hear what your reasoning is. What led you to this today?
Yeah, it's been a journey. Leadership's just kind of in me. I'm the person that really has studied leadership. At Learning Ally, I rose into leadership levels, into roles that I found myself in leadership capacities. And it was in this journey that first and foremost, I went and got certified, academic language practitioner, certified to teach children with dyslexia, because I thought, okay, I got to know the content first. And then secondly, I was really trying to find inside education leadership, examples of leading literacy well, because what I saw over the years was putting superintendents, building leaders on pedestals saying, they're amazing. And I'm not discounting them as a human. They're amazing. Our culture is great here. They got all these bonds passed. We're in Texas, so we know bonds, yeah. So they got all of these bonds passed. We built new buildings. We did all of these things. And I'm saying, does that make you a leader? I think we are hanging our hats on leadership as, wow, you were able to bring some funds to the school. In my view of the world, the true mark of leadership is I grow myself first. I build cultures that allow implementation of evidence-based practice to move and move fast. And there are outcomes to say that we did something good in the life of a child. Because when I go look and see the people that are put up on pedestals, you go look at their data and it is not impressive to me. And so I say, I'm not sure that you actually followed through on what makes a true leader of a school system. Isn't it about better outcomes for kids? So in this journey, as I'm seeking leadership in education, I was like, okay, I know where I'm going to find it. And that's when I went and got my doctorate in literacy and educational leadership. And I was like, boy, I'm going to get it right here. They're going to give me everything I need. You already know how this story turns out.
Yeah.
So my very first class, educational leadership course in my doctoral program, it was all about management. My first assignment. Read this case study and pretend you're the superintendent, and how would you respond in this scenario? And it was all about busing and transportation and, when the busing system fails, and what are you going to do about it? And I just sat there and read that case study, and I was like, this isn't leadership. This is you saying the mark of a leader is understanding how to manage tasks. And that's not leadership. So I did the assignment here's the way I should have done the assignment. A true leader would have built great humans around them and had a great director of busing and transportation and turned to that person and said, please go solve that problem. If you need me, come and ask me. I'm going to help break down some barriers for you. So story goes on. I had to step outside of education to truly understand leadership at a high level. And that's where I ran into the work of John Maxwell. Many people might know John Maxwell, but he has written more books on leadership than anyone in the entire world. And I started diving into his content. I went to his leadership certification program. I started learning from high performance coaching individuals out in the world, Ed Milet, Brenda Burchard, Mel Robbins, just surrounding myself with individuals that could lift me in my personal growth, to know how to communicate with others, to know how to love others better, to know how to regulate my own behaviors, be a self-aware leader, be the person that can model for others. And I always have that literacy bias, though. So if I'm going to go into a school, you're going to get leadership, but you're going to get it with a literacy bias.
I love that.
Because really, you think about it, there is nothing more important in schools than children learning how to read first and foremost.
Exactly.
And then you think about there's nothing more important than the child feeling safe and secure in their environment. And if teachers aren't feeling supported, if teachers aren't feeling like they have that culture that they're going to be taken care of, how are they going to be able to be there in the way that they want? Most teachers want to be there doing that job because they have a heart for children and they want to make a difference in their lives. But the culture has just turned away from the true purpose of what we're all there for in a lot of ways, from the leadership, in my opinion. I mean, I'm out of public schools now, so I don't know what it is like in the past 4 years, but I've just heard from my friends, and I know some different people that are still there in those roles. And it makes me kind of sad to see how people are feeling in these times.
Yeah. And a good implementation of evidence-based practice tools, curricular tools, resources, everything we know that needs to happen can only move at the speed of trust.
Ooh.
Because if we don't have a trusting culture, guess what's going to happen? Okay, we're adopting a new curricular tool. I'm not going to do that. I'm not. And if I don't trust and I don't have those relational pieces built in, that is a strong culture built on, that implementation is going to go bad and it's not going to take hold. And so this is something that we have forgotten in implementation. So we've got all of these states that are saying, let's get all of our teachers trained. And we have done it here in the state of Texas. Let's get everybody trained. We've got reading academies here, and I am not discounting this at all. We've got to get teachers trained. But if we train teachers without the building leaders coming alongside them, then we've trained teachers to go back into systems, to go back to curricular tools that do not work with their new knowledge.
Right.
And how does it make teachers feel?
Yeah, exactly. We talk about that because I bring up the reading academies a lot because when I retired, I had to do the reading academy. I'm sure Melissa was probably next to do it, but they were piloting it with my department, the dyslexia department, even though it was the year I was retiring. I was like, this makes no sense. Why am I doing this? But I digress. I think if we had leadership taking it alongside of us, because I remember I was the leadership person taking it, but I had other people above me. If I had, or if my team had, not just myself, but the people above me attending and taking, and then following up and making sure that teachers understood how they could use it in the curriculum that they have now, or how to talk to other teachers about what they learned. I think that's crucial. I do. I think I'm right there with you. I think all teachers need to understand that structured literacy piece, but then they get it and they don't know what to do with that information, and that's crucial. Let me just say that was longer than 60 hours going through all that stuff. But anyway.
A lot of the teachers, though, it was so intensive and they were having to do it during the school day or, all throughout the
After
school year,
Yeah.
after school, all different times that they were using each other's answers sometimes. I mean, it's the nature of the beast. They were piled on in the middle of the most chaotic time of the year when they're at school. And I think it's not only that, when they were talking to us about the Reading Academy, me and the other dyslexia therapists, we were saying, well, why do we take this? We already are trained in all of this. And they said, I actually went and did some research and they said, well, if you're a therapist, you can actually teach the coursework, but if you don't want to teach it, you have to take it. There was no way out of taking that. And I was thinking, well, strange. So you're going to take us who have been trained. If we don't want to teach it, you still are going to take the course. Why not have us who are trained go and help the people who are taking the course, who do need this, let us support them so that we can help them get to that next level with the reading instruction.
In the district I came from, a lot of our dyslexia therapists, it was a paid position. They were coaches for the Reading Academy. So that did happen, even though I've had my CALT since 2006. I've been a QI since 2018. Why am I taking this? I'm retiring this year, okay, whatever. But I think we could have been more strategic with who needed to take that, but that's neither here or there. We're going to talk about something else now, but I loved all the stuff that you said. John Maxwell, I'm very aware of who John Maxwell is. I have
Good. Yeah.
One year I worked for an ed tech, and one of the salesmen on the ed tech, his wife was one of the John Maxwell employees, which was really kind of cool. And I love that you're a CALP. That makes so much more sense because I've been teaching since 91, dyslexia since 92. And all of my dyslexia apartments, there's been years where we had somebody who was just assigned, to be in charge of the department. They had no clue what we did or what we were doing. I can remember one time we had a leader who wanted us to be all push in into the classroom, do all of our therapy and push in. And are like, that doesn't work. We're identifying all these children now in front of their peers that they're dyslexic. Two, there's so much distraction going on. We're not inclusion. This is not what that is. I think it's important. I think you should be applauded for pursuing your practitioner so that you have that deeper understanding. So I do love that. But let me move on. It's not about me. It's about you. Can you share a defining moment in your career that solidified your commitment to literacy advocacy? What was the one moment that you went, this is it?
Wow. So, the one defining moment I do have to mention in my journey, I'm going to start with a little bit about the journey, and then there is a true defining moment. So my journey into education, here's the full and honest truth. I didn't choose education. Education found me.
Oh.
And my path was criminal justice. I had a vision. I am going to be in the FBI one day.
Wow.
And so my bachelor's and master's degrees are in criminal justice. At one point in my life, as I'm doing that, and I'm going into maximum security prisons, teaching transition assistance for prisoners like this, that was my path and my journey. But God laughed and said, ha, 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 I think that's funny. I'm going to tell you what you're really going to do. And so at this time, my husband's in the military, I'm doing all this, and I was teaching preschool. So because, I'm raising a family, he's deployed most of the time, I'm teaching preschool. I later became a leader of that preschool. And, this is the moment in life you're like, can I have a do-over? Because what I didn't know back then, what I know now. Would really love a do-over, but don't get that in life. And anyway, my husband got orders back to Texas. This is where we're from. And at the time, my sister-in-law was working for this organization called RFB&D, Recording for the Blind and Dyslexic, which is the former name of Learning Ally.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And she was like, okay, we're hiring out in West Texas. That's where we were moving to. We're hiring, and I think you need to put in for it. And I'm like, okay, I'll put in for it. And she was working there because my nephew is blind. And so for the better part of my journey, I got hired. Better part of my journey, it was really in the blind and visually impaired world. So, but then we would go to these conferences and I would be like, you mean there's more here? Like, what are they? I got to go sit in those sessions. I got to learn. I got to grow. I got to understand, and really fell into the world of dyslexia. I am so privileged to say that I got to be mentored by Dr. Gordon Sherman, who is an icon in the world of dyslexia. He is a scientist turned educator, and got to have personal mentorship with Dr. Gordon Sherman, found this world of dyslexia, got CALP certified. Okay. So anyway, started tutoring children, and here's my defining moment that says, we have to lead this better. I'm sitting in front of Braden, tutoring. She is, at the time, she was first grade, and she got her dyslexia diagnosis the Friday before COVID.
Oh,
So, wow. Oh my goodness. What a time.
right.
And anyway, I started working with Braden, and it was not long after that she's sitting there across from me, and we're sounding out words, short vowels, g, ap. And she looks up at me and she says, Miss Terrie, my confusion teacher doesn't tell me to do it that way.
Oh.
I said, what did you say, Braden? And she said it again. My confusion teacher doesn't tell me to do it that way. And I'm like, what is she trying to tell me? What is she saying? My inclusion
There you
teacher.
go.
Out of the mouths of babes. Because here I'd spent a lifetime in learning about dyslexia and what we need to do. And we were serving children in a portable building across the football field behind 12 more portables. And you walk over there and you get your 40 minutes of intervention, maybe 3-4 times a week. And we expect that to work.
Yeah.
I was like, no, we are creating confusion for children, because that child went back to a gen ed classroom and there was a misalignment. So Braden did what I told her to do in front of me. And then when she was in her gen ed class, guess what she did there? I'm guessing, I'm using their strategies. I'm, floundering around. And that's where it hit me. We don't have a literacy crisis in this country. We don't, because that's placing blame on children. That says something's wrong with Braden. We have a leadership crisis. What we should be saying is that is the responsibility of the leader to say, what are we going to do to build system alignment in our schools? That way, Tier 1 instruction is powerful. It is, as Joe Torgerson said in seminal research, we are catching them before they fall. And if we do it right there and intensify for the children that need it, then we're going to get this right. And that's the responsibility of the adult.
Wow.
So that's my defining moment.
That's incredible. And, I had a couple of connections, but the one that's standing out, I can remember for the Reading for the Blind and the Dyslexic, the North Texas Reading for the Blind and the Dyslexic. You had this catalog and you checked off what you wanted to borrow and you'd send it in by snail mail and they would send you a tape, right?
Absolutely.
A cassette tape. I think I still have Hank the Cowdog in my closet over.
Well, Amy, no need to return it. You can just keep that, okay?
If I can find a tape player, I'd be great.
I have a tape player.
Okay.
I have one
Bring it
upstairs.
next time I see you Sunday. That's funny.
Yeah, I just love that you keep turning it back to leadership too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the huge missing piece. And I think a lot of times the leaders don't see that that's a huge component. They keep throwing things at teachers and then nothing is changing. So the defining meaning of crazy or insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result.
So it's interesting that you just said that, because I can remember when I was still in public ed, we trot out this new, and I didn't have to worry about it because I was in the dyslexia department. And we pretty much did the same curriculum from year to year. But teachers would get a new curriculum and they go, that didn't work. Let's shove this out and put this new one in here. And I'm like, how do you know? You only used it for a couple of years. How do you know if it worked or not? But it didn't give those instant results. And I think our leaders need to understand we need some time, not just for our students, but for our teachers to get comfortable and understand how this curriculum is supposed to be used. Just my two cents there.
No, your 2 cents is spot on, because every leader should know there is no curricular tool that absolutely 100% gets the job done. There's not. Us that we can teach children with dyslexia, those evidenced programs that we teach, even those programs need to be in the hands of a knowledgeable educator.
Right.
The program I teach still has me doing alphabetic knowledge on lesson 56. I don't know. And I'm like, why am I wasting time on alphabetic knowledge when we've secured that and mastered that? I'm not wasting time. But see, only a knowledgeable educator can have that agility and flexibility. A novice person with that curriculum in their hands, I need that for myself, practice routine. I mean, this is where we talk about creating freedom in the fences, because we've got to have fences for a novice educator with a brand new tool. Boy, my fence has got to be tight.
Right.
Because I got to get you practiced. I've got to get you expertise. But I mean, Amy, I'll just take you, an experienced educator, your Calc QI, you've been doing the program forever. Your fences can be wider. But see, it takes a great leader to know their people, their tools, because you can't lead everybody the same way. And I think what we have done is that we've tried to lead everybody the same way. It doesn't work.
I have this lecture that I give trainees quite often. It's a little off script from what I typically do, but we talk about fidelity versus integrity. You know, fidelity is doing
love the integrity word.
Fidelity is doing things that, you know, the curriculum says you're supposed to do it, not to exceed. And I'm talking dyslexia therapy, not to exceed groups of 6, and you have to be well trained, all that things. But integrity, if I'm going to change maybe a fluency piece, I wouldn't change the fluency piece for all of my students. And you made me think about that when you were talking about the alphabet skills at lesson 56, because I know exactly what lesson that is. You're the oi. I was just teaching that this week. Maybe I've got older kids that their alphabet knowledge is secure, but I wouldn't do that as a blanket statement at lesson 56. Well, I'm pretty sure all of you, that's integrity. That's the integrity of the curricula and things like that. But I know I'm preaching to the choir.
I've had a student who needed to have the vocabulary and the wording narrowed down. It was too much information put at him. So if you've got a vowel and a closed syllable and an open syllable, blah, 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 that was just too much for him to hear. So I have to just water it down to a very basic level. That worked perfectly for him. He stopped getting headaches. He said, I'd get headaches because you're telling me too much. And I'm like, okay, I can work with that. Let's work it out. But that's just it. Like all the leaders, quote leaders, need to recognize teachers have that ability to read their child and figure out what is best for that child and give them the
data has to inform that, right? That's
right.
Yes, the data is what informs that decision.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of not just our therapists, practitioners, and our teachers, but with our teachers, they need to know how to look at that data and what that data actually means. And I'm not just talking boy, moi, oi. You know, if they've had an assessment, look it over and look at, I talk about qualitative and quantitative, and that is what has happened. That quantitative data, that testing, that assessment is what happening that day. In my head, and we just had Stephanie Stoller on, I would love to see screeners be for our dyslexic students, boy, moi, oi. You know, what were they doing here?
And by that, you mean beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, just in case people don't know.
That's right. I would love to see it 3 times, not just to see if there's growth, but to see, are they performing the same way each time? You know, I think that's important.
I wanted to know a little bit about, you talked about being a practitioner and how that's played a part into your misconceptions about dyslexia before you got into it, how that's changed your perceptions of dyslexia now. How does that affect you today?
Always anchoring back to leadership. So one of the reasons that I still tutor children, I never went through my training practicum. I mean, it's a lot of work. Y'all know it's a lot of work.
Right.
I didn't do any of that because I had in mind that I want to, tutor children, go back into the public education system. That wasn't in my thought. I did it because I needed to get close to the work. And this is a leader move right here. You got to be close enough to the work. And I still do the tutoring is because I learn more from the children sitting in front of me than I can ever learn sitting in a workshop, listening, talking to people, is because those children teach me basically all of the, what I call we call it research to practice. I'm sorry, people. Sit with me, sit with both of you a little bit with some kids. It's research to reality. Okay. Because the reality is that these children in front of me are squirmy today, that they're, they're not responding, is that they needed more corrective feedback built in, and my script didn't tell me to do that. And so I think the misconception, there's so many myths out there about dyslexia, but the biggest one from a leadership perspective, and it's what I said earlier, there is not a single tool used front to beginning that gets the job done as written. Right. Now, let me caveat that. There are evidence-based tools that have gone through RCTs, randomized control trials, and we need that. Boy, they are good. They are solid. But as the practitioner sitting in front of a child, the reality sets in. And, maybe even some of the tools, I use this example a lot. Lad. How many times do we see the word lad when we are teaching short vowels?
Right.
Yes.
I'm sorry. My children of 2025 don't know what a lad is. And it's like I spend more time teaching about lad than, and it's, I'm just like, oh my goodness. So the leader move here about this misconception is that we've got to have evidence tools, but we've got to raise the level of knowledge, and we can never stop learning as the practitioner. And leaders, if you are a building leader, a district leader, you sit in the hot seat at least once.
Yeah.
Because I promise you it'll change your perspective.
Right. Wow. Another word? Pipkin. We get vowel consonant vowel patterns because it's two syllables. And my kids go, Pipkin, what is that?
What is that?
And the first time I saw it, I go, I don't know. It sounds like an elf. It's an apple. It's a small apple.
I know. Sometimes I got to look up the words. I don't know.
I know.
Yeah. Kim's going to be my next dog.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I do the same.
That's funny. Okay, so what does the latest research tell us about the science of reading and how it applies to dyslexic learners? I think there's a misunderstanding, especially with maybe some of our practitioners and dyslexia therapists, that we have dyslexia curriculum, but it falls under that big umbrella of structured literacy. So how does that apply to our dyslexic learners?
Yeah. So, kind of a phrase that has gotten out there, but I would say let's exercise with caution, is that structured literacy is good for all. And it is. Structured literacy is great for the 85% of children that need a structured approach. But every classroom has this continuum of reading ability and skill. So if I am the parent of a child that is a reader, mastered everything. My little granddaughter, she's 3 and she's wanting to learn her letters. And so I'm kind of doing, I'm doing some things with her, but I'm like, is this a disservice to her? Because then when she goes to kindergarten, she's going to be bored out of her mind. So when we say structured literacy is good for all, don't forget our advanced learners.
Right.
Because our advanced learners, by and large, depending upon where they are in their assessments, in their benchmark, they don't need structured literacy. So structured literacy is excellent for the children that need it and for the children that need the intensity of instruction such as dyslexia. So I think that's something that really has to be understood. This is another leader move. This is where that data informs my instruction. Because, the IDA, when they talk about diagnostic, prescriptive, those cumulative, all those words, sometimes I think we gloss over them without understanding what each one means and how it applies in practice.
Now, you know what? The Texas Dyslexia Handbook, I think, does an excellent job of explaining each one of those adjectives and how it relates to dyslexia education. Even if somebody's out of state, I'm like, hey, look at our handbook, because it's not just written by our local people. This is research pulled in from everywhere. And I love how they define it. I think those are important pieces to point out. But yeah, systematic, direct, explicit, cumulative, diagnostic, prescriptive. I don't know. I'm throwing in extra adjectives that aren't there, but
all the words, right?
All the adjectives.
All the words. Yeah.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Hi, this is Amy Rodenroth, and as part of the Dyslexia Duo podcast team and owner of Discovery Dyslexia Services, I want to talk to you about my business. Our COUT-trained team offers expert virtual or in-person therapy located in Prosper, Texas, using proven dyslexia curricula like Take Flight, Build, MTA, Alphabetic Phonics, and Reading by Design. We also provide crucial independent evaluations and advocacy services. Don't wait. Empower your child today. Visit www.discovereed.com to learn more. That again is www.discoveread.com. Discovereed, covering all your dyslexia needs.
Hi, this is Melissa with Kids First Dyslexia Services. I am excited to share with you my private practice. Kids First Dyslexia Services is a private practice that specializes in dyslexia therapy. Each one-on-one session focuses on instruction specific to your child's needs in a nurturing environment that develops self-esteem, builds confidence, and fosters a sense of accomplishment, resulting in happier kids with higher levels of achievement. We provide a professional, personalized experience, always putting the child first. We value the relationships with both our students and parents, because strengthening skills and overcoming hurdles to achieve desired goals and success is a team effort. For more information, please visit www.kidsfirstdyslexia.com. That is www.kidsfirstdyslexia.com. And let's return to the show.
Amy, I want to give a second part of that answer too.
Yeah.
About the research. So fabulous research coming out from language, understanding language. And there was, I just read it this week, Charles Hume, Maggie Snowling, they're at Oxford University. And, they did longitudinal research, randomized control trial that is showing a causal model that says, first and foremost, reading is developmental. And everything rests on language.
Yes.
So at 3.5 years of age, we can start to assess language, and that can tell us how they are going to do later on. Mm-hmm. Now, here is the thing. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we've known that. Yeah, everything rests on language, but we've attributed it to just reading comprehension. Is that when I've got good language, it helps my comprehension. And now what we are starting to realize through that research is that language actually is the foundation for phonemic awareness. It's the foundation for letter knowledge. It is the foundation for rapid automatic naming. And so we've never really connected it to those things that language, my language skills, my production of language, my receptive language, actually is a precursor to phonemic awareness, to alphabetic knowledge, to rapid automatic naming. So what that is saying is that our children with dyslexia we have focused so much on word reading words. I mean, think about the curricular tools we use. It's
Yeah.
reading words. And we are not integrating the necessity of oral language.
Right.
And this goes beyond just vocabulary development, because sometimes we're like, oh yeah, we do vocabulary routines and vocabulary development. No, we're talking about putting words in sentences. We are talking about the syntax of language, the semantics of language. We are talking about production of language, my listening skills as well. And so I have a vision that dyslexia therapy, we do word reading integrated with language. And, we've got to have tools that meet the need of that.
Because I'm old, been doing this a while. When I was in public ed as a young, cute, fresh teacher teaching dyslexia, and I wasn't even a therapist yet. I was doing a teacher level curriculum. We had our schedule strip, right? And the last two parts is verbal expression and listening comp. And I can remember my supervisor telling me, well, we don't have time to do those parts. So we folded that bottom part up of the schedule strip, and we'd go through alphabet, dex, new learning, decoding, and all of that. We'd hover in the trenches, basically, for that. Because the rationale they gave me, was they're going to get that in the classroom anyway, right? Okay. So if we have to explicitly teach them alphabet skills, phonology, decoding, fluency, morphology, why on earth would we think our dyslexic students would get the same as everybody else when it comes to background knowledge, comprehension, all of the pieces? And a while back, we had Jan Wasowitz on here.
Yeah,
and
I know Jan.
Yeah. Oh my God, she's amazing. And you're amazing too. This is not, oh my gosh, I got to get out of my head sometimes.
It's all good.
We had talked about the simple view of reading, and then we had talked about the reading rope. And Jan had talked about how she expanded on the reading rope with the literacy network. And she gave the graphic, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I had no idea all of this was involved with gathering background knowledge for our students. And it's just, the more you know, the more you know. I can't rest on what I knew in 1995 for dyslexia, because we weren't even assessing first and second graders back then. And now we just know so much. And I think, again, going back to your leadership piece, we have to keep learning. We have to keep growing. We have to keep reading the data. We just heard a thing about Nadine Gabb saying background knowledge and comprehension starts in utero, and that's huge piece.
Terrie, I was going to ask you, what are your thoughts on child development now with so many people having access to iPads, phones, things of that nature? I might be going off the track here, but
no, you're not. No, you're not.
I've just been wondering, I see some changes in the way the kids can kind of understand and do understand oral language when I'm working with them one-on-one. And it just makes me wonder, I'm 100% in agreement with you about the oral language piece. And it makes me wonder how much of the phones, the iPads, all the different activities that kids are doing now before they even get to school, how is that affecting their oral language development?
Right.
Do you have any insight into that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's plenty of research coming out around that what it is doing, it's actually increasing the different centers of the brain. The language center of the brain is decreasing. Yeah.
That's scary,
that's big.
Isn't it?
So it's the visual center of the brain is increasing and the language center of the brain is decreasing. I mean, that's profound, right?
Yes.
Because we know it is the visual stimuli and it's those doses and those hits of the oxytocin and all of that hits that brain. And that's what those kids, I need more of it. I need more of it. And so right now with, a 3-year-old granddaughter, a 10-year-old grandson, a 1-year-old granddaughter, they live really close to us. We eat together, like in the evenings. And so the TV is not on, phones are not on the table. And we do this fun little thing called high-low buffalo. Everybody around the table tells their high of the day, the low of the day. And so we can kind of talk about it. And then buffalo is whatever random thing from the day.
Nice.
Because what's happening in many families, we went to dinner the other night, I was sitting there and a family comes in, all 3 kids popped up, 3 iPads on the table. And my granddaughter, she's 3, and she said, Mama, look what they have. And I'm like, yeah, but we're going to talk at our table. It is changing the brains of children. Now, is there a place for technology? Yeah. I mentioned audiobooks. I love audiobooks. Places for technology. But if we don't get a hold of this, we are wiring brains differently for the future. And that's not a good thing. I've got to tell you a story that is going to bring this to light. Nadine Gabb is right. Oral language develops in utero. So Stanislaus Dehaene has a really beautiful image of the folds of the brain in utero. And the beginning of that image starts at 28 weeks, showing the folds of the brain. Now, of course, it happens prior, but his image begins at 28 weeks. My granddaughter last August was born at 23 weeks.
Oh, wow.
23 weeks, 1 pound, 2 ounces, 10% chance of survival. In the NICU, 195 days.
Oh, God.
So you're talking intense. So in that moment, my daughter, all of us knew the doctors were going to take care of her physically because we didn't have that skill. But we had to take care of her language. Because think about a baby in an incubator. All they hear are beeps. Beep, 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 beep. They hear the muffled sounds of nurses talking. So what we did is we got this little kid's toy called a Tony box, and where we could record our voices onto this little character, 90 minutes worth of us reading stories. And so what happened over time is, and I've got video of this, I got to put a story together. I have video of her not listening to stories and her stats dropping.
Oh,
and then turning that story on and her stats stabilized.
Oh my God.
The nurses began to use our voices as a piece of their repertoire of intervention for her. So, and now she turned a year old in August. She's doing amazing, little girl. Yeah, she's doing amazing. But it's because she heard my voice a lot. And I can pick her up and hold her. And she loves for me to do the j sound. I can do the j sound, and she turns her head and nuzzles to me. I mean, language. Oh my goodness. And she's actually above her adjusted age in her sound production right now.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. I love that story.
I gotta write a big old write-up about that story.
You do.
I was going to say that hospitals should probably start to use that with their preemies in the NICU.
Yeah.
Wow. And girl, I just girled you. Sorry.
That's okay.
I mean, this is valuable information. This can save some of our preemies.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think it's profound too to think about how not only the preemie population, but just to think about making a difference in children's lives all up until they get to the preschool level is, that needs to happen. We need to start introducing more of that oral language back into their lives. I know that in my private practice, we use No Glamour cards. I don't know if you've heard of those.
No Glamour cards. The kids love No Glamour cards.
Yes. So we use those. We start our practice with that, like every session. And They really, really like it. And even though if we don't get an entire lesson finished, I want to make sure that we can get some of those in. And it really makes a huge difference. I can see growth in those children all throughout the period, of 12 weeks, 15 weeks, whatever I could see them start to change and think through things a little bit differently. So I love them. So thanks for that tip on the
The
oral language too.
exclusions and negatives section is really hard.
It is hard. I save those for the
It
older
is hard.
kids.
Because I read out loud, I'm like, wait.
I know. Amy, some of them I'm like, okay, let me think about it first before we, yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the true or false, those truths and falses are so good for them. They really have to think about it, especially because they have like the double negatives in there sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's really cool. So you've worked extensively training and inspiring educators. What qualities make the most effective literacy leaders?
Somebody that has a passion to always be a learner. I mean, honestly, it is the single greatest thing that is going to catapult somebody forward. Just always be a learner. I'm reminded of there's this saying out there that's like, the more you learn, the more you know you need to learn. And it's the learners and the growers that change the world. They're the ones. They're the ones that stay curious. I do this little teaching about knowledge, wisdom, and curiosity. Knowledge. Okay. We got to get the knowledge. We got to go through trainings. We got to school systems. We got to get our knowledge. But I have to continue to learn and grow beyond knowledge so that I can apply wisdom. And wisdom is, ooh, yeah, boy, they've already mastered that in the lesson. And I'm going to pivot and I'm going to be agile here. That's wisdom. Knowledge is just going down the list. Wisdom is the application of my knowledge with the tools that I'm using.
Right.
And curiosity says, what am I missing? What am I missing? Who do I need to go ask? What can I do better? Where can I go for more information? And I think we all do this. We go through our day's routine and I get to my computer and I answer as building leaders, I answer all the emails and I put out the fires and I handle these things. And then by the end of the day, I'm exhausted. And then I go home and I do my routine there. And if we don't intentionally build in time for growth and learning in a year from now, 5 years from now, it's all going to pass the same, but we will not have moved ourselves forward. And so I personally want to work with people that want to grow.
Yeah.
Those are your best people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Those people that recognize I know a lot, but I need to know more. I need to keep reading the research and understanding how this can help my kids, help my students, help me in helping them. I totally agree with that.
You see that more often in people who are younger, older, or does it make a difference?
No, you know what? That's a great question. I think especially working, with leaders, building leaders, district leaders, they primarily are of a more seasoned age just because the nature of, experience and all of those things. But I would say and here's truly where the mark of a great leader is. The mark of a great leader is to reach back and grab the young people, grab them. Because how many times in my journey, I wish somebody would have reached back and grabbed me when I was teaching those pre-K kids and shoving tracing papers in front of them and thought I was doing something. I wish somebody would have grabbed me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
You don't love that I was putting tracing papers in front of those kids.
No, we don't love that part.
I like that you're grabbing the people and telling them, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, because you think back, and I've been guilty of this too, when you get new educators and you see them come through and like, oh, they don't know what they don't know yet. And that's true, but that's all of us.
That's all of us.
We don't know what we don't know. That's
Yeah.
We can always learn, we can always grow. And it's even our youngest educators, that's important. It's like a baby's brain, it's still malleable. They're open to new ideas and new things. And I think that's an important thing to realize about our younger educators. But thinking a little bit about literacy and dyslexia, are you hopeful? How do you continue motivation to spread the word? It's still an issue. We see the research out there about illiteracy across the nation, and you read it and you're like, oh my gosh, we've got to do something. And we're trying to do something, but sometimes it feels like when you're driving in mud and your wheels are just spinning in the mud and you're not going anywhere, it feels a little like that. How do you maintain hope and motivation in times like this?
I have so much hope. So I am a visioner. I wonder about future states, abundance mindset, just try to stay away from that lack mentality. And I I do see so much hope. I see so much hope that if we can get it right in first tier instruction, let's just get it right. Let's connect our public schools to communities where we have children in preschool, early childhood. Let's make connections there. Let's get early language development and that's secured and have pathways through, and raising up leaders and individuals that know how to lead change, understand organizational psychology. Like
Yeah.
this is all the work that we're tapping into, because I've trained teachers for so long and we've got to train teachers. But it was training teachers in this void of connecting them to their systems that so disenchanted me. I was like, what am I doing over here? Training more teachers so they can go back and impact a couple of kids, which is good.
Right.
I'm about training leaders to change the world.
Right.
I mean, that's different. And so I'm hopeful, absolutely hopeful, because podcasts like yours, the big conferences that are out there, the more widespread the knowledge is becoming, I think there's a movement at hand and we've got to grab it and run with it.
I agree.
I
Completely
think
agree.
kind of piggybacking on what you were talking about with the school leaders and bringing the awareness, I was thinking about when we had Brett Tingley on, she was talking about the school boards, and she said, really, parents need to go to the school boards because the parents are the ones that can really implement change with the leaders, with enough squeaky wheels that kind of gets that ball rolling. So I was thinking about too, how would we help those school leaders using the parents and the other people involved, teachers, dyslexia therapists, anybody like us? How could we encourage dyslexia awareness? How could they understand it better? Because I think that that's a big component. I don't think they really fully understand dyslexia the way we do. And how can we get them to understand it so that we can improve their student outcomes?
And beyond just October.
Yes.
Just beyond October, because I see like all these kumbaya movements going on during the month of October for Dyslexia Awareness Month. And that's great. But hey, they're still dyslexic in November, December, January, February. What do we do to sustain something like that?
I've worked with many parents over the years. Both of you have too. Even us, we're passionate people. Boy, we're passionate people. And sometimes our passion can wear people out.
Yeah, that's true.
It can. It can, if we're the ones that are beating the drum, we can wear people out. And this is where, a lot of the work that I've done recently, my colleague and I, Danielle Thompson, we run a literacy leadership mentorship group. And we've spent the past couple of months talking about how to work with complicated people, in that we deal with the icky stickiness. Okay. Because we're all icky, sticky people and we're all complicated people. And I've got to understand that I can't be the one just to be so passionate all the time that it wears everybody out, that stymies them. And so how do I, as a leader, leading myself, come in and regulate myself to be coherent with where they are? If I come in hot and they're down here, they're going to see me as abrasive. They're going to see me as too much. They're going to see me. I have to have the self-awareness to know I got to come in and regulate myself to meet them where they are. Does it mean that I lower my standards, my beliefs? Nope. I'm just coming down so that I can lift you up. That's all it is. And so it's all about relationship building. It's all about having the knowledge of how to influence people. Nobody's ever been influenced with fire and brimstone. It hurts. It tears you sideways. So, a lot of the readings that I do, I said, are from outside of education. Marcus Buckingham wrote a book, Love Plus Work. Joel Manby wrote a book about love in the workplace. Like, we got to love people first. Yeah. And come in and help them understand. Now, if there is a single thing that I would say that would get people in an understanding way, assimilation. Assimilation, when you put people through it, they're like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. That is the single greatest tool to change somebody's mind and build empathy.
I agree.
I like that idea.
I completely agree. We're getting kind of towards the end. So what legacy do you hope your work leaves for the next generation of students and for educators?
At the beginning of this journey, I thought my role, dyslexia therapy, everything that I was doing was being an advocate to help children read words.
Right.
And now my thinking has evolved. My lived experience has evolved my understanding. This isn't about just getting children to read words. This is about filling them up with language, with love. Think about it. The words inside of me are just energy that is my thoughts, my feelings, and it's energy that comes out of me and is released to you and put inside of you. I mean, it's got to travel some way, travels through that air, right? And it's carried from me to you. And building children's capacity to read for themselves, to learn for themselves, to hear for themselves, to build, I call it the word well inside of us. And some children's word well is pretty dry. And my job is to fill up children, adults, with so many words that I can communicate with others, that I can have strong, healthy relationships with others, that I can do something really positive and change the world a little bit. So I see it now more than ever that this is about filling people up with the language they need to be, change makers, nudge the world a little bit.
I love that.
That's inspiring.
We had on our podcast, we had Margie Gillis, who's being honored at IDA.
Oh, I love Margie.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. And we've had Karen Averett. And you would think with being such big names in the dyslexia world, when dyslexia pops up in their family, that those districts, those campuses would be like, oh gosh, we better make sure we identify. And they're not getting identified. And I remember saying, I think to both of them, did you just go in, like a bull in a china shop saying, no, they totally met them where they were. They attended those ARDs, they attended those meetings and listened to what they had to say. So I recognized what you were saying and how it could apply, because those are your leaders. Those types of people too are your leaders. They're meeting everybody where they are and they're building their knowledge and understanding in that community, which I think is important.
I realize the more people we talk to, like you, like all these other researchers and educators, you remain humble, you remain knowledgeable, but you also know there's always more to learn. And that's what I've gathered from every single person, that no matter what, we have to keep learning. And I love the way that you shared that you're filling language up. So even listening to you speaking, you filled my language up more, and I've gathered that from every single person. So I'm grateful for you guys to be in this role, helping people like me who are kind of on the low end here, but still doing my little thing. And I'm so grateful for my thing, my role. But I love the remaining humble, but also doing what is right for kids, doing what's right for the population who needs a voice.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Melissa, you're definitely doing your job.
Yeah.
You are. You're changing children's lives.
Well, and I don't take it lightly. I love it and I'm passionate about it. And I just thank you for sharing your wisdom with us too.
Yeah.
We need people like you helping us all along the way.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed this. This was fun. Thank you for
We're
having
not
me.
done. We're not
Oh, we're not done. Okay.
No,
We're
we've
going.
got lightning round questions that I didn't
Okay.
send you.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
So you're just going to answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay. You want to start, Melissa?
Okay.
Oh, let me get it up because I took it down. Second,
Okay.
please.
Yeah. No, I didn't send these on purpose because I want you to just say it in the moment.
I like it.
I love these. It makes me think of that Friends episode where Phoebe's like, coffee or tea? And they're like, what? And they're saying what they want. And then it just kind of goes
Yep.
off kilter.
Was this to win the apartment? The boys versus the girls? That one?
No, it was
No, it was when they were having to make hard decisions about something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were and she was like, don't just say it. Don't think. It may have been Joey's girlfriend.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Something like that. All right, go ahead,
Okay.
Lisa.
What's the first book that changed your perspective on literacy or learning?
I Talk Like Ted. And you're going to say that doesn't match. What do you mean? No, Talk Like Ted changed my life.
Is that a TED Talk book?
It's a TED Talk book.
Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay. What's a quote or a mantra you live by?
So it's my personal mission statement. I'm a faith-based person. I actually took it from James 3:5. See how great a forest a little fire kindles. I want to be a spark. I want to start a fire.
I love that.
It gave me chills. Okay, what's one common myth about dyslexia you wish would disappear tomorrow?
Oh my goodness. Common myth. Yeah, this one. Oh, that children with dyslexia have these superpowers, this special thinking. We got to be careful about saying that because that's not true. Dyslexia is a continuum. And when we put that out there in the atmosphere, then children that don't have that feel bad about themselves. We don't need to layer on more bad feelings.
Absolutely. One word to describe how you feel about the future of dyslexia education. It can be hyphenated.
Okay. Energized.
I like it. You want to do one more, Melissa?
Yes, I am actually very into this one. Early bird or night owl?
I know what you are.
Early bird. And my alarm goes off at 5:07.
Yep. Thank you very much. So Melissa and I are like on we're not in two different time zones, but we act when we text each other and email in two different time zones because I'm awake by like 4:30 and then I go to bed by 9. And then
Yep.
she's just now waking up because she's finished and she's awake till 2 a.m. And I'm like, and I'll see my text. I'm like, I know you're doing this because you thought I would see it right when I woke up, and I did, but 2 a.m.? What's going on?
Yeah. Like, what are you doing?
We're totally opposite.
That Paul Abdul song, Opposites Attract. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Terrie, thank you so much.
Oh, this was
This
fun.
this was so fun, and I learned so much. And now I'm going to be throwing your name out to our future guests.
Well, do that. There you go. Well,
I might need to come to a
appreciate it so
leadership
much.
class.
Oh my goodness, you do. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we infuse so much of John's content from other leadership experts, because that's what's gonna raise us up.
So if somebody
Yeah.
wanted to attend one of your leadership conferences,
Yep.
or where would they go to look? Do you have a website for them to look at?
So check out the transformativereadingteacher.com. Yeah.
Okay.
So Danielle Thompson, she hosts the Big Sky Literacy Summit. Have you heard of that? Okay.
Yes.
So Danielle and I are, doing all of this leadership content together. You can find information about our mentorship group on there. Our colleague, Teresa Owen, she's a part of it as well. And even if somebody wanted to learn more about Maxwell leadership certification, you can find information on the site there as well.
It's so funny that you
Wonderful.
said all this. This has been popping up. John Maxwell's been all over my social media here in the last 2 weeks.
Interesting. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. That was so
Fantastic.
great.
So this is Amy.
And Melissa.
And we're the
Dyslexia Duo.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. The Dyslexia Duo hosts are Melissa Dean
And Amy Rodenroth. The producer is Greg Rodenroth.
Dyslexia awareness is so important. Please share with your friends, family, and anyone who needs to know more about dyslexia.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X at The Dyslexia Duo.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.